Hello everyone, Dr. Chris Martenson here. I am the CEO of Peak Prosperity, and you are a curious, awesome individual, and you like to know what's going on in the world. Today, wow, inflation is destroying lives. Inflation is everywhere and always a monetary phenomenon, according to Milton Friedman, but it's an act of policy. It's not this mysterious sign from the heavens that visits us and nobody knows why. The Federal Reserve creates inflation, and then the U.S. government, through the Bureau of Labor Statistics, undercounts it and then gaslights you about how you're doing in life. So let's go there and let's look up this. We just had a CPI release. Looks like I'm going to have to move this. It just came out this week, and they said overall inflation was up 6.5%. But if you're a sharp-eyed person with even minimal capabilities of math, you might say, how do I average food away from home up 8.3%, food at home up 11.8%, electricity up 14.3%, transportation 14.6%, gas and utilities 19.3%, fuel oil, big deal up here in New England where I live, up 41.5%, average all that together, and of course it comes out to 6.5%, with shelter up 7.5%. On the other side, if you bought a new car or you engaged in medical care, that's BS, that number right there, or gasoline or used cars, those were down, they say, oh, this all averages. But if you didn't buy a used car or use medical care, you did not experience less inflation. If you did eat, tried to stay warm, move around, or lived somewhere, you experienced higher than 6.5% inflation. This is the level of chicanery and statistical wizardry and lying that we undergo all the time. And why do I get sort of spun up around this? Not sort of, I get spun up because it's the same as the lies that come out of the CDC or the FDA, or in this case, the BLS. They are lying to us and gaslighting us. When did it happen that we became the enemy of the institutions and vice versa, who are supposed to be serving us? Come on, people at these big organizations, you're Americans. Man up, woman up, and start giving us believable, realistic statistics. Now, let me get rid of this little piece right here. Look at this. Look at this. So here we see that the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, or inflation for urban consumers month over month, way up here at 6.5%. They said it's coming on down, though. See how that's coming down? You might not have experienced it that way, and possibly here is why. Because there's two parts to this. Commodities, those goods, and then services. So services, doctors, lawyers, anybody who's providing any sort of a service, cleaning services, consulting services, whatever the services are you consume. Look at this. They were up and up strong. In fact, as high as they've been in this green line, this dotted line tracking the services inflation, now as high as it has been since the 1980s. That's 40 plus years right now. So that's just intense. So that's what we're experiencing. And by the way, if you track how people's wages have been doing against inflation, 21 straight months in a row getting poorer, which brings us to our word of the day, which is immiseration, which is the act of making miserable, especially impoverishment, the immiseration of the working class. Inflation, everywhere and always, is an act of immiseration. It is a policy choice to impoverish one group of people. But while they are being impoverished, somebody is being enriched. So that is the action of the Federal Reserve. That's why I'm a huge critic of that institution. Remember, Federal Reserve is neither federal nor is it very reserved. It is in the business, always and everywhere, of immiserating one group of people for the benefit of another group of people. It conducts open class warfare. You need to be aware of that so that we can dispense with this idea that they are kindly, wonderful people who are looking out for all of our collective interests equally. Not the case. And that's what this chart says. 21 straight months of making average people poorer on average. Hard to say that's the act of a kind, benevolent organization that's got your best interests or my best interests at heart. So if you want to know more about inflation, it's a really important subject. I made something called the Crash Course. There's the link down below. I explain how they go about this lying and cajoling and torturing and statistical revisionism in order to make inflation seem less bad than it actually is. It involves three big things: hedonics, substitution, weighting, statistical wizardry. I explain it all in Crash Course, Chapter 16, called Fuzzy Numbers. And here I give an example of how hedonics and imputations are used to make our economy seem bigger and stronger than it actually is. I explain it all. If you have that context, then you have a chance of dodging the immiseration, not being a rat in a cage, and understanding where things are going. Not as you've been told they're going, but as they are actually going. That's my role. That's what I help you do, understand and find the context to make sense of the world in which you live. Thank you very much for listening. See you next time. Bye-bye.